whether you're interested in academic research or industry project or even internship. You'll get, hopefully, you'll get all of your answers. And don't worry, unlike your quizzes, midterms, or finals, there are no wrong answers here or no wrong options to choose from. This day is solely for learning and okay. Apologies for the interruption. Well, regardless of your interest in academic research or industry project or even internship, and today's day is mainly for learning, asking questions, and exploring all the possibilities. Well, to begin, we have our privilege of hearing from two of our esteemed faculty members who have dedicated their careers to advancing research and guiding students just like you. So without further ado, I would like to invite our chairperson, Dr. Sadia Hamid Kazi ma'am, to share her thoughts and officially inaugurate this event. Please join me in welcoming her with a round of big applause.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I still see people coming in. That's a good sign. Can we start the... Again, speeches are always boring, especially I think most of us are half asleep. So I'll start with a very small presentation. Can we start the presentation? Oh, okay. Did I wake you up? So those were fun facts. They were facts, by the way. So no research is small. And the thing is, for you, you're the cusp of, I mean, you have the resources right at your hands to do anything that you want. So what I would like to encourage you to is not because you have to do thesis, you have to do a project, you have to do an internship. Your mindset should not be like that. Your mindset should be that, okay, I want to solve a problem. And using that mindset, do your thesis or your internship or a project. This is how you should roll. I mean, what is cooler than giving exams? Research, right? If you do research, if you think of solving a problem, I mean, your future you will thank you, that you'll have something to show. So my request to you is not just, don't have the mindset of just thinking that I want to research, I'll have to do a research, so okay, everybody's doing AI, ML, I'll do AI, ML. It's easy, you just download the data set, train them, do a comparison. Don't. The other day we had an alumni from Bikash, and he said that when he interviewed, he looked at the resumes and he saw that everybody's doing AI and ML and the research were all similar. So why am I saying this? Please notice that they're noticing. They're noticing that everybody is doing the same thing. They're not doing anything innovative. So try to think of problems. I think we are not in short of problems. Problems are here and there. Solve those problems. Solve problems at home, at the university, at your community. Solve problems of the country. So without further ado, another thing I would like you to request, I know there's, all of you would like to do research with the senior faculty that we have, but we don't have, that proportion is out of proportion. So we are also encouraging you to take, our junior faculty or lecturers, senior lecturers as your supervisor. They will have also the guidance of our senior faculty. So you will have the senior faculty, but in a different form. So I'm also encouraging all of you to talk to your lecturers, senior lecturers, and figure out what are the areas of research which is similar to what you want to do. And then start. So don't wait for a slot to be open for a senior faculty. Just start. I think it will be a good journey for both of you, for all of you. So thank you for joining this session, and hopefully we'll have, I know that we have lots of sessions which will be extremely fruitful to all of you. So thank you for coming. Thank you.
Our Dean of our department, Dr. Mahbub Mujumdar sir, on stage to say some inspiring few words to us. Let's give a bigger round of applause.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So thank you so much for coming. I want to thank the organizers. I want to thank all the people who put this day together. Sadyap also asked me to thank them because she forgot to thank them. But thank you all for organizing this, putting this research day together. It's really important for all of you and for all of us. I just wanted to say a few things. I won't bore you with silly speeches and things like that, but I want to congratulate you all for creating this new Bangladesh. Many of you were at the forefront of leading this students' revolution. So this is, all of you are like freedom fighters of 2024, okay? There were freedom fighters in 1971, you're the freedom fighters of 2024. But something has to come after that. You have to do something after a revolution. What are you going to do? You have to build a country. You are at a special time in the history of the world in which you can use AI, you can use assistants to do incredible things. You can get expert advice from AI chatbots and things like that. When I first came to Bangladesh, I didn't have people to talk to about like how do you do this or doing that. All of you have access to these incredible resources. Now, in order to build this Bangladesh, you have to have a different mentality. All of you are students here, I assume. Well, maybe you are students or faculty or whatever. You have to have this ability that I want to do something. I want to build something. I want to solve a problem. Okay? Many of you have this idea that I'm going to go abroad and my life in Bangladesh is whatever. But those doors are closing, I hope you can see. So we have to build this country, okay, from here. Okay? So in order for you to do that, you have to develop yourselves as undergraduates. We have a lot of resources here. We have a lot of gaps. But if you show the initiative, if you show you want to do something, if you show that you have an idea, you will get support from the university, from our chairperson, and from the faculty. We are overstretched in many ways, but if you show initiative and you want to do something, we will go out of our way to help you. Do you understand that? But you have to show the initiative. You should all be thinking of, okay, I'm a computer science major. Maybe I didn't want to study computer science. Maybe my parents made me. But at least I have some skills, right? Solve a problem. What are some problems that you are interested in? What are some problems that you face every day? Everything from trading in the stock market to predicting like rainfall or whatever, or getting blood or something like that. There's a thousand problems that each of you face every day. So when I was a student, okay, an undergraduate, like roommates like started these companies. Like you've heard of one of them, Yahoo. Like Jerry Yang was like one of my roommates. Okay? Undergraduates can do incredible things. And you are at a time in which the field is what we call virgin territory. There's so many opportunities, right? And in a few years' time, things will change very much. Okay? When quantum processors come out, when quantum computing becomes a big deal, then things will change again. And that will be maybe in 5 to 7 years. Okay? So what you are studying is what this 21st, or I guess it's 22nd century, whatever, okay, is all about. You've got to take advantage of this. I want you to also realize that our young faculty, our junior faculty, are the most energetic of all our faculty. They have the most time for you. Our senior faculty are burdened by a lot. They have to teach classes, they have their own research, and they have a lot of external responsibilities. So please reach out to our junior faculty for a problem. You should be looking at them and you should be asking them, please, sir or madam, ma'am, whatever, give me a research problem. Our junior faculty you might think that they are overstretched, but they have a lot more energy. Okay? They will give you time, which our senior faculty cannot give you. So please look to them for thesis supervisions. And in fact, they are required now to do thesis supervisions. So they have to give you time. Okay? I want to thank you all. And I want you to please remember that your job here is not just to graduate, not just to get a degree. If your job is really to develop yourself and build this new Bangladesh that you've created. And for that, you have to really think about solving problems. And that means research. Research is solving problems. So thank you so much. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to Farid Bhai. Thank you to our senior faculty. And thank you all for coming. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Mahu sir, for your wonderful speech and setting the tone for today's event. Next, we are honored to have with us Dr. Farid Yusuf Sadiq sir, an associate professor of our department, who will now share his valuable insights on research methodologies and the importance of academic exploration. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Ikra, for the nice introduction and thanks a lot for the applause. And thank you, Officer, for mentioning my name. But I need to tell you, this is not my doing. This is organized by actually our young faculties. And before I start my talk, I would like to acknowledge and request you to come on stage, please. Arif Shakil, Odun Roy, Abu Ibrahim Ikra, Rafid Rahman, Abhinandan Banerjee, I'm sorry you're there, but he's here, and please give a big round of, and Shoaib Kitu, sorry, I forgot your name. Sorry, yeah, please give a round of applause to our faculties who made this possible. Thank you everyone. So I'll start my talk with our thesis process. So we will talk about the general research process and progress. But in BRAC University, the way we do thesis is, as you all know, it's a 3-semester process, and we have that pre-thesis 1, we have pre-thesis 2, and we have final thesis. And here's the life cycle. I'm pretty sure all of you have already seen this. How many of you have seen this? Seen this particular flowchart? That's great. So this particular flowchart actually gives you an idea of what you need to do before you start your thesis. And before starting your thesis, you have to have a group, obviously. Then you have to search for a supervisor, think about brainstorming about your topic, take some courses, obviously. Sometimes what happens is that you want to do a thesis on something and you haven't taken the course. You should take that course, and then your thesis 1 starts. When your thesis 1 starts, what you have to do is you have to register for your thesis. That's the first thing you do. And that usually happens within the first couple of weeks of your semester. And again, this semester, whoever is starting P1, you have already registered for this, no? Who here is starting your thesis 1 this semester? Can you raise your hands? Yeah, you have all done your registration. And whoever is in P2 and final thesis, you have already done that, obviously. So after you do that, then comes your literature review. So I will talk about literature review a little bit in my presentation, how to do a literature review, how can you find your paper, etc., etc., these sort of things. Then you have to submit a report, and that report carries some points. There is that 5 points that's dedicated to your pre-thesis 1 report, and that is judged by our faculty members. Then comes pre-thesis 2, and honestly, after like supervising, I don't know, like dozens of thesis groups, I believe pre-thesis 2 is the most important part of your thesis. In pre-thesis 2, you actually implement something. Like in pre-thesis 1, the most of your time is spent on learning about what everyone else has done. Now you are doing your own thing, now you are innovating. So in pre-thesis 2, you collaborate with your supervisor, you work with your team to create something that's new, that's innovative, and then you write a report on that, and 10% of your score depends on that. That's 50% of your score. Then comes your final thesis. In your final thesis, then you are really pushing it hard. Like you are now trying to publish it, you are now trying to create something that's truly remarkable, and then you present it in front of a defense panel. And that defense panel has 30% of your grade. So remember, it's almost as important to present your work properly, just like you work hard on it. So presentation, your report is also part of your presentation, your thesis report, and we also expect you to submit a paper that hopefully eventually gets accepted to somewhere. So that one is also very, very important. And the thesis panel grades you on these sort of things. Then comes your supervisor's grades. And if you work closely with your supervisor, if your supervisor is happy with your quality of work, and I believe almost all of our faculty members will agree that what we want from you is you learn how to do thesis. If you can learn properly how to do research, that's all we can hope for, and we are happy if you can do this process carefully and punctually, and whenever, if you publish it, great, but as long as you learn it properly, oftentimes we're happy. So that's pretty much the entirety of your thesis. I don't have much time, so I will not dive a lot deeper into this process, as you already have information regarding this. So I will actually move into my presentation, which is that. So it is an introduction to research methodology, and I'll have to apologize because this presentation is 2 hours long. I will not hold you for 2 hours here. So there are other sessions that you are absolutely excited to attend, I believe. So this is not a very exciting thing, but whenever you are doing a research, there has to be some sort of process involved, right? It's not Wild West. You just don't go in and wing it. So I have some experience. I have more experienced colleagues here who can share their experiences with you whenever you work with them. And this presentation is not always presented with me. In last semester or a couple of semesters ago, Dr. Farida Miss also presented this similar sort of presentation. So we all try to share our experiences, and this is my experience. So how to do research and how to what is research? This sort of.
Then can you shift inwards? Like
So,
ভিতরে চলে যাওয়াতে পারবা?
at first, I want to ask students, why do you want to do research? Like all my presentations, I want to do research, right? So I have a couple of microphones like floating around in the auditorium. Can anyone raise your hand and tell me, why do you want to do research? Can we give him the mic? I mean, of course, like 4 traits of thesis is a good reason to do your research, of course. I'm not saying it's not, but I want to learn more. Not working? Okay, good.
My basic instinct was, Assalamu alaikum sir, and my basic instinct for research was to solve a problem.
Solve a problem, right? That's a fun idea. To solve a problem. Maub sir was also talking about this. I like to emphasize on something a little concrete than that. That solve a local problem. Like the problems that we have in our country, we have to solve it. No one from outside will come in and solve this problem for us, right? So, solve a local problem. That's a very good motivation. What else? Anyone else has any point? Anyone else? Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. My point is in contributing in new innovation.
Okay. Innovation, right? So innovation is fun. So yes, obviously, innovation is just like something that's exciting. So thank you. But my perspective behind research was mostly because, again, I just say the word, it's exciting. So research is exciting. You work like, sometimes you work like a detective, sometimes you work like a librarian, sometimes you work like a scientist. Like it's a whole lot of things together, and like this is very, very exciting. So I have spent like my entirety of my adult life doing this sort of things. So I find it really exciting, and hopefully you do as well. There are some definitions. I will not bore you with definitions. Let's talk about the steps. So again, it's not Wild West, but it's not written in stones. So the steps I will show you, you don't have to absolutely follow these steps, but these steps work for me, these steps work for a lot of other researchers. So I will share them with you. If you and your supervisor want to follow it, great. If you can find a more efficient way, that works as well. So there are some talks about scientific methods, but again, I don't have enough time, so I'll just go straight into steps. This one is a little bit. So before this, like steps, let's talk about the quality of a good research. So as I've said, like this is an open field. You don't know often what sort of things you are going to find. So there is that sort of idea of randomness, but there is that method. And whenever we are talking to methods to madness, there are some very specific things that you need to work on. By the way, remember this is School of Data and Sciences, so a lot of the discussion that I will talk about, it's related to data science, and I have done my research in machine learning and natural language processing, so there will be some connection to that. Sorry about that, because there are more in this particular field, but again, this is a little biased. So whenever we are talking about being controlled, there are variables that you can control and there are variables that you cannot. So you have to address what sort of variables you can control. By variables, I'm not saying like x equals to y plus 2, not like that. Like variables mean real life variables. You have things that you can control. You just cannot control the population of Bangladesh, or you cannot sample something that's not represented within population, this sort of things. So you have to control those things. You have to have some sort of control over these sort of things, otherwise your research will not have value. The second part, this is probably a more important thing here, understand the difference between correlation and causation. Whenever you're presenting something, you need to understand that sometimes A does not cause B. B happens while A happens. So there is that discussion between correlation and causation. Do not present your thesis or your research that this caused this until you can prove it. So usually people do that, make that mistake that people present correlation as causation. You have to understand that causation is very difficult to prove. So you have to keep in mind. Then comes the part, this is where we fail a lot, and that is acknowledging previous work. So whenever you are presenting your work, you absolutely have to acknowledge whoever came first or whoever came before you, right? So you have to read a lot where you are working on. It's very rare that you are working on something that's absolutely new. There have been someone who have worked on it, so you have to acknowledge them. Whenever you have heard of Google Scholar, right?
Yes, sir.
So Google Scholar is that website where we can find papers, this sort of things. So Google Scholars, in Google Scholars website, there is that line that standing on the shoulder of giants. And this is how often research works. You are standing on the shoulder of giants. You don't have to reinvent the wheel in a lot of cases. So acknowledge those contributions, read those contributions, understand those contributions, and then you are ready to start your research. And the most important part, I believe, again, this is very much my personal opinion, research is oftentimes not about what and how. Research is oftentimes most about why. You need to ask at every step why something happened. You have to explain why you used this sort of technique. You have to explain why you got this sort of results. If you can effectively answer the question why, then you have actually done a research. Do you understand my point? The process is important, the problem is important, but the most important part, I believe, is the capacity of explaining that problem and capacity of explaining that solution. Prove that this result or this technique, this algorithm, something, it actually works. You have to prove it to me. Otherwise, it's not a good research. Then comes, it has to be representative. That is, it needs to be generalizable. By the way, can I have a mic that's not this? Like, can I Oh yeah, perfect. So a good research has to be representative, it has to be generalizable. That is the solution that you're providing, it has to be generalizable. Is it, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Then it has to be replicable. You created a solution, you collected a set of data, you ran some algorithms on it, you created something, sort of new technique that you want to show people that this works. Someone else has to run that algorithm on that same sort of data so that they can show that it actually works. So whatever you are providing solutions for, whatever that solution may be, that solution has to be very much reproducible. So your codes has to be available, your data has to be available, your algorithms, your papers, all of this has to be available so that someone else can come in and show that your technique actually works. your findings actually are proper findings. So always try to remember that your work has to be replicable. Believing someone blindly is not science. Then there has to be external validation. Like, let's say we are friends and you showed me your work and I don't want to hurt your feelings, and I said, wait, that doesn't work. It has to be peer validated. It has to be peer reviewed. So conferences, journals, these sort of things, these are great for your work to be presented and get validation from your peers. It has to be ethical. We are working on outcome-based education, and ethics is a big part of that. So our research, if you have seen that research breakdown, whoever has registered for P1, you have to follow that step, and you can see that there is that point for ethical research, and ethics in research is very, very important. Your research has to be ethical. Now we will talk a little bit about what makes a research ethical, but there are some keys: no falsification, do not lie in your research, as simple as that. Do not fabricate any sort of process. Do not just bring data out of nowhere. Do not plagiarize. These are very common things, but again, unfortunately, a lot of people do that. So we have to say it here. The other part of ethical thesis is that be good and be kind. Like, your research has to be kind to the population that you're using, be it like human population, or you don't have to work with animals or sort of things. But you have to be kind to your data points. You have to be kind to your like whoever is going to profit from your research. These sort of things. You have to be good. You have to be kind. There is a very small discussion about kinds of research. I will just focus on two very general types of research, and one of those types of research is pretty much what we all do here, and that's quantitative research. So you work with numbers, you work with data. But there is a massive sort of research that's not quantitative, called qualitative research. We have seen like a growth in qualitative research in our department as well. We have seen people working on things that's not data oriented and that's not extremely performance metric focused. So qualitative research is an amazing sort of research. Unfortunately, as an engineering department, we have been focusing on quantitative research for quite a long time, but if you are interested in qualitative research, there are now faculties in our department who can do these sort of things. So that's a very good thing to have. About research methodology, I will not focus on this slide. Actually, I will just just go into steps. There are 10 steps involved in here. Not all of these steps are absolutely mandatory. Again, this is kind of data science research oriented, so there are a couple of steps that is data driven, but the other 7-8 steps you will find very relevant if you are not even doing any sort of data science research. So the first one is identify your research problem. Step 1, identify your research problem, and that is the question what. What do you want to do? You need to select and formulate your research problem, and that is what you will do in your P1. In your P1, the first step is absolutely finding and identifying your research problem. And again, whoever has done your P1 research, you have already done that. You have submitted your research problem. That's an abstract, right? So you have already done that during your registration part. Now, I usually follow this particular criteria called final criteria. Your research problem has to be feasible. Your research feasible means it can be done. It has to be interesting, of course. It has to be novel. Now, sometimes, actually not sometimes, like a lot of times students ask me, what's a novel research? What's novelty in research? So there can be novelty coming from multiple directions. A novelty can be a novel algorithm that you introduced. Someone, no one has ever used that particular algorithm in this particular field. Your novelty can come from analysis. You found a research gap that no one has found before. You have created, your novelty can come from a very good quality literature review as well. Like, you have done a very broad, very in-depth literature review that no one has done before. That can be a novel research as well. So novelty can come from multiple directions. Do not get like distracted by one particular direction that no, I have to find the best performance score for this particular data set. that's not the only novelty you can get from a research. Novelty can come from multiple things. Then it has to be ethical, as I've said, and it has to be relevant as well. The first thing I talked about is solve our local problem. So it has to be relevant where you are and when you are. Then finally, you have to justify your problem. Whenever you are presenting a research problem, maybe to your supervisor, maybe your thesis panel, or wherever, you have to justify that this is good enough to work on. So whenever you can justify a problem, you have that passion, you can start your research. Then literature survey, and this is probably the biggest part of your P1 research. Again, I'm like pointing to the P1 students here. So literature survey or background study, this sort of things is very, very important. Who did what? Again, you're likely, very likely not the first one who is working on this particular field. Or someone else has worked something similar to this. So you have to know who did what, and for that, you need to read a lot, like really a lot. You are students, so all you can do is actually read. So not a difficult thing for you, but always remember, you have to read a lot. Now read what? You have to read research papers mostly. Now research papers are very difficult to find some cases because there are those things like payment gateways, etc., those paywalls, blah, blah, blah. Remember, we have a library, and that library has access to some journals that are behind paywalls, so you can take advantage of that. You can come to us, and that then your faculty members can help you with these sort of things. But remember, a lot of those research works are actually open access. So you can have access to research that people have done, and those are amazing research papers. How you can find those research papers? Google Scholar is a very good resource, and there are specific repositories for specific fields. For example, in natural language processing, we have SQL Anthology. Then there are other search engines like Semantic Scholar, these sort of things, where you can actually go in and search for research papers. And if you cannot find those research papers, and I did not tell you this, you can do some. Don't do that. Do that. Don't do that. So yeah. Then you have to hypothesize a solution. So you have a problem. Now you have studied that problem. Someone else has done some things. Then now you have to formulate a solution, and formulating a solution starts with hypothesizing your solution. Now you will have hypotheses, and there are hypotheses like a very massive amount of science behind hypothesis testing, these sort of things. I don't have enough time to go into it. I think I ran out of time. So I will just fast forward through this. Hypothesize your solution, then you design your experiment to prove that solution, right? Now designing, by the way, all these steps are teamwork, and remember, your supervisor is a team member. Your supervisor is not your boss. Always remember that. Your supervisor is there to help. Your supervisor is there to answer every question that you can come up with. So consider your supervisor a teammate who just have more experience than you. That's it. Is it clear? Your supervisor is not your boss. Your supervisor, you don't have to be afraid to talk to your supervisor. I have found teams that don't go to their supervisors to talk about their problems. They don't go to their supervisor about their hypothesis, about their experimental setup, these sort of things. Go to your supervisor, talk to your supervisor as often as you can, as often as your supervisor allows, at least. So go to them, talk to them, and your supervisor, he or she has more experience, and he or she will be able to guide you. He or she will be able to stop you from going into a rabbit hole. Don't do this. This is futile, these sort of things. So a good level of communication is very, very helpful with your supervisor. So you design your experiment, then oftentimes it's useful to do a pilot study. Pilot study means you do a proof of concept. You build a very small scale solution and see whether it works or not. It's not often mandatory, and in a lot of cases it doesn't make sense even, but doing a pilot study in some cases helps you. It can sometimes stop you from going into rabbit hole. Then comes those two steps that's mostly connected to data-related research. Data collection process is broad, and I can just talk about the data collection and data cleaning, these sort of things for an hour. But data collection is important, and you usually do that during your P2. Remember, data collection is complex, and it has to have steps that you have to follow that to properly use the data in your research. So remember to have enough time so that you can do data collection process properly. Then comes data processing and analysis, and remember in your P2 report there is that part called EDA, exploratory data analysis, where you have to present some analysis on your data. A lot of times, a lot of problems can be solved by just looking hard inside your data. Like if you are very good at looking into your data, if you do some sort of good quality analysis, sometimes you like solve 90% of your problem. So if you are doing data-driven research, a good quality data analysis is very, very important. Then comes the part where either you can accept your hypothesis or you can reject your hypothesis. You can follow some scientific books, scientific method books that explains more on that. Again, I can talk for an hour on this, but we don't have time. Then comes interpretation. Now you have presented a problem, you have collected proofs, you have tried to solve it, your own solution. Now you have to present it in front of people, right? So now you have to present it in an interpretable way so that people can understand. Now this is very, very important. The last two steps, we often forget that these two steps exist. So the first one is now you have to present the results properly, that makes sense. And the final one is dissemination. Now you have to get it out. You have done some decent work. You have worked hard for a year on that. Why shouldn't other people read your work, right? So make sure it's presentable, it's inferenceable, it is interpretable, and then present it in front of people. You publish it, you present in a conference, whatever. Present your work. A lot of students just present their work in front of a thesis panel and then just forget about it. Don't do that, sir. Present it to a wider audience. It will help you. I think I should stop here. There are a lot more things after that, but I don't think I have enough time, number one, and I think our esteemed professors in their sessions will cover those things as well. So this is where I stop, and if you have any questions, I think I can take a couple of questions. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum, sir. Sir, you have told about the data collection, sir. Can we just take the data from a Kaggle and put that data and test in the data set?
I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat it?
Sir, as you told about the collection of
By the way,
data.
I can see who is talking because the light is this way.
Can you
Can you stand up, please?
Sir, my question was, can we just take the data from the Kaggle and just put in a...
Can you just take the data from somewhere else and use it in your research? Yes and no. So you can take someone else's data as long as you acknowledge it, as long as you cite it, and as long as it is actually useful in your research. So yes, I work with data all the time, and a lot of my focus goes into creating high quality data, and I publish those data for everyone else to use. It doesn't have to be only Kaggle, it can be in Mendeley, it can be in GitHub, anywhere. So yes, of course, obviously, you can use someone else's data, but remember, you have to acknowledge it, you have to cite that work, and always remember that you get permission to use that data. Sometimes, something that's just available online doesn't mean you can use that data. Remember that. Am I clear? This is very important, by the way. A lot of you do data science or data-driven research where you work with newspaper articles. just because a newspaper article exists on website does not mean you can use it. There has to be explicit permission from that newspaper that these data can be used for further research. Otherwise, it's not ethical. Got it? So, social media posts, newspaper articles, these sort of things, you have to go to their terms and conditions, and you have to go through that terms and conditions to understand whether this data is usable in your research.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. You told in your statement about dissemination. My question is, how can we reach a wider audience to spread our research, to show our research?
How can you reach a wider, very good question. So there are a couple of ways. So the first way is obviously publishing your paper in a reputed journal or a conference. So which conferences or journals are reputed? Your supervisor. Your supervisor is an expert in that particular field, so he or she knows where, if you publish it somewhere, other people will read. Which are those places? He or she knows the venues. The other way, sometimes you can do that, is take advantage of a website called Archive. Have you heard of the website of Archive? It's a paper repository from Cornell University where you can upload non-peer-reviewed articles. So whenever you are publishing something in journal or in a conference, it goes through a peer review process. Someone expert in that particular field first goes through your paper, and if he or she decides that it's good enough to get published, it gets published. But sometimes, especially in a field like us, which is very fast moving, you want to get your work out fast. Like, be the first person who is working on this sort of problems. Then these sort of repositories help, like Archive, or there are other repositories like that. Now, if you created some sort of deep neural model, you can upload it on Hugging Face and have a publication there connected to that. So there are these two ways. I obviously always prefer that's something peer reviewed, but if push comes to shove, you can take advantage of Archive as well.
Thanks.
Thank you. This will be the last question because again we have to. Yes.
আসসালামু স্যার, আমি এখনো সেকেন্ড ইয়ারে, হ্যাঁ এখনো উঠি না, আমার এখনো 3 সেমিস্টার আছে, 3 সেমিস্টার পরে P1 শুরু করব, বাট আমি এখন থেকে রিসার্চ করতে চাই, আমি কি করব?
First, let's give him a round of applause because a second year student is here and we absolutely appreciate it. Who else is here from like first year or second year? Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much for attending this. So yeah, thank you so much for your interest. How you start your research is there are some ways you can do this. আমি বাংলা বলে যেহেতু তুমি বাংলা প্রশ্ন করছো, অনেক সময় রিসার্চ আমার কাছে মনে হয় গুরুমুখী বিদ্যা বলে একটা কথা আছে। গুরুমুখী বিদ্যা মানে হচ্ছে ইউ লার্ন ইট ফ্রম অ্যান এক্সপিরিয়েন্স পারসন, যার সাথে কাজ করতে করতে তুমি শিখবে। সো কাম টক টু আস। আমরা রুমে আমাদের ডেস্কে থাকি, এসে আমাদের সাথে কথা বলো যে স্যার আমি রিসার্চ করতে যাচ্ছি, এরকম আমি এই কোর্স করছি, আমি কি নিয়ে কাজ করতে পারি, আমার এটা নিয়ে ইন্টারেস্ট আছে বা এরকম, জাস্ট কাম টক টু আস। That's a I think that's a good step to start. I'm pretty sure আমাদের এখানে আমাদের যে শিক্ষকরা আছেন তারা সবাই অ্যাপ্রিশিয়েট করবেন তুমি যদি এসে তাদের সাথে রিসার্চ নিয়ে কথা বলো। That's one. The other way is you can think about problems that you have been facing. হ্যাঁ, ধরো তুমি তোমার ডেইলি লাইফে তুমি কোনো একটা প্রবলেম ফেস, জাস্ট একটা এক্সাম্পল দিই, তুমি হচ্ছে গুলশান 1 দিয়ে আসতেছো, আজকে গুলশান 1 মোড়ে হচ্ছে তুমি 15 মিনিট ট্রাফিক আটকে আছো। How can you implement an automated traffic solution? Think about that. এটা চিন্তা করতে শুরু করো। মানে research involves a lot of brain work, so you can jumpstart your brain work at an early age. But আমি সবসময় প্রেফার করবো তুমি এসে আমাদের সাথে কথা বলো, সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা তোমাকে আরেকটু বেটার গাইড করতে পারবো। But remember, it doesn't have to be like I don't know, Dr. Shakkar Shatabrata. He is a senior professor, he has a lot of experience. But again, there is Rafid Rahman. Rafid Rahman has also a lot of experience. You can go to our lecturers who actually have amazing quality of research and a lot of experience there. So, so go talk to them. হ্যাঁ, আমাদের লেকচারদের সাথে, আমাদের প্রফেসরদের সাথে, সবার সাথে, যাদের সাথে সুযোগ হয়। আরিফ শাকিল স্যার আমাকে যেটা মনে করাই দিলেন, আমাদের একটা ওয়েবসাইট আছে csc.sts.recu.ec.bd। সেখানে আমাদের সব প্রফেসর এবং লেকচারার এবং সিনিয়র লেকচারার এবং সবার রিসার্চ ইন্টারেস্ট লিস্ট করা আছে। আমরা কি দেখছি এটা? সবাই দেখছি। সেখানে কিন্তু বলা আছে কে কি নিয়ে কাজ করে। তো সেটা ব্যবহার করে ইউ ক্যান ফাইন্ড সামওয়ান হু থিংকস লাইক ইউ, এবং সেখান থেকে ইউ ক্যান গো অ্যান্ড টক। আমরা এখানে শেষ করি তাহলে। আমরা সবাই প্যানেলে প্যানেলে ভাগ হয়ে যাব। প্যানেলগুলো হচ্ছে সব 9th ফ্লোরে, এবং ইকরা উইল এন্ড দিস সেশন। থ্যাংক ইউ এভরিওয়ান।
না তাহলে শেষ হচ্ছে কোথায় যাওয়ার এখন কোথায় হচ্ছে না
Thank you very much for the insightful session. And unfortunately, we couldn't answer all of your questions.